So I've been thinking quite a lot about wholeness lately and this idea of growing whole or inhabiting our wholeness. I wanted to offer a perspective that you may or may not have considered, but it's one that I've been contemplating lately. And this is the idea that no matter where we are in our lifespan and no matter what we're living, and we can live through many different things in one lifespan, that we're always inhabiting portions or parts of our wholeness. And sometimes we have the idea that to fully inhabit our wholeness means that all parts and all pieces will be present at one time or in one chapter of life, that we will somehow be all that we are and express all that we are, our wholeness, in one particular phase or one particular chapter. And what I'm leaning into, a perspective that is dawning on me, is this idea that we are so much. We contain multitudes. And to actually inhabit all that we are in any one particular chapter is maybe not even possible. But that a more generous and spacious way to look at it is to think that possibly as we live our entire lifespan, that it takes the entire lifespan to inhabit our true spectrum, to inhabit the wholeness of what and who we are. And this means that in any given moment in our life, in any given chapter, we are only actually inhabiting parts of ourselves. But that if we live long enough and if we go through the ups and downs of life, the high notes, the low notes, that lo and behold, as our lifespan unfolds itself and unfurls itself, that eventually we will have tasted or touched our wholeness. And when I was sitting with this idea for myself, because I always consider these ideas for myself first and run them through my system first before offering them to you guys as a teaching or an invitation, I was feeling like, phew, wow, this actually takes some pressure off. Because if I feel like my particular phase of life is touching on some of the notes of who I am, but not all of who I am, it feels like it takes some pressure off to be all the things right now or to inhabit all my ways of being right now. And I think I look at who I was when I was younger and I think, oh, I was so much wilder, or I had so much more nerve then, or I was so much more ballsy. I was just out there. And I think but I wasn't as wise. I wasn't as wise as I am now. So maybe I'm a little more reserved now or a little more premeditated. And that is also part of my wholeness. So it's not that I'm supposed to be wild like I was then or wild in the same ways, or that I'm supposed to inhabit myself or experience myself in the way that I did then. But that if I put all my ways of being across my entire lifespan together, some of which I have not lived into yet, that somehow I get to experience all of what I am. But it actually takes my whole life. It takes my whole life to even scratch the surface of all that I contain. And I believe the same is true for you. So I invite you to sit with this perspective, and like all things, don't take my word for it. But there's an invitation here to try this on, to try this perspective on. And to possibly also ask yourself, what aspects of my wholeness am I ripening in my current chapter? What aspects of my wholeness am I ripening in my current chapter? And you can maybe also reflect on what aspects of my wholeness, what aspects of myself are not being developed currently or are not being lived currently. So these are aspects that are more dormant. And how can we make ourselves less wrong for that? I think for myself, how can I be generous and allow for the ebbs and flows of life, for all the chapters that happen, trusting and knowing that somehow it's taking my entire life to unfold my wholeness. And I see the almost like the petals of a flower, and that it takes the entire lifespan for the flower to come into full bloom. I find that beautiful. And it allows me to be more generous and more kind with whatever I'm developing now, knowing that I don't have to be it all and do it all in this chapter. I hope that gives you something to reflect on, or a little seed that might blossom in your own life and on your own journey to being whole and being all that you came here to be.